Hello everyone. Today we are going to see about estrogen. This is the continuation of the Obs Gynec lectures for USMLE. So what is estradiol, what is estrone and what is estriol? Estradiol is the estrogen which is produced by the ovaries. So what produces this estradiol in ovary? The granulosa cells which will be producing aromatase, and the theca interna cells will be producing the testosterone. So if hold on for a minute, I will tell you in detail about it. So if this is the ovary, and we have the follicles which are developing and therefore releasing the ovum. We have the ovum within it, inside it, and surrounding the ovum there is granulosa cells. So these cells which are surrounding the ovum are the granulosa cells. But whereas the cells which are present on the exterior of this follicle is the theca externa. As the name says, it is externa. And similarly, the cells which are present in the interior is known as the theca interna cells. Everywhere. So the theca interna cells will be releasing testosterone, and the granulosa cells will be producing the aromatase. So this is the granulosa cell. And this produces aromatase. This is the theca interna which will be producing the testosterone. This aromatase will now convert the testosterone which is produced by the theca interna cells into estrogen. What estrogen? That is estradiol. How do you remember? There are many types of estrogen. So maybe you can remember it as diol. So you can di for ovaries. So something like that. It is dumb clue, but something to make us remember. So estradiol is the estrogen which is the one which is produced by the ovaries. What do we know about estrone? Estrone is the estrogen which is produced by the adipose tissue. Now when in those who are having a low BMI, those who don't have adequate adipose tissue, then the estrone will not be produced, and they are prone for osteoporosis later in their life. What about estriol? Estriol is the one which is present in the placenta. With this, they are the three types of estrogen. Let's see what an LH surge is. The LH surge, what happens during the first phase, that is during the ovulatory phase, the follicle, the FSH, the follicle stimulating hormone will be released, which will act on the ovaries, allowing the Graafian follicle to grow and the estrogen to be produced. This estrogen will act on the endometrium, forming the bed. The endometrial layer increases such that the endometrium forms the bed. Now, after for the ovulation to happen, so because this granulosa cells is producing the estrogen and that is forming the endometrial bed. Now for the ovulation to happen within the first 14 days, that is during the ovulatory phase, the estrogen is slowly increasing to a point that estrogen is quite high. What happens whenever an hormone is quite high? It is supposed to decrease, right? It is supposed to cause a negative feedback, isn't it? But here instead of causing the negative feedback, it flips. This estrogen increase, it flips and then it causes a positive feedback. What do you mean by a positive feedback? In a negative feedback, when the estrogen is increasing, it is supposed to decrease something. But in positive feedback, when estrogen is increasing, instead of decreasing, it increases the production of LH. So now this LH, when it is increased, that is known as LH surge. What it will do? What will the increased LH do? The increased LH will cause the rupture of the Graafian follicle and it releases the ovum. This is how the ovulation happens in the body. So this is about the role of estrogen in LH surge and in ovulation. What is the role of estrogen in females? What is it? The estrogen in females is necessary for secondary sexual characters. So it is responsible for breast development, it is responsible for body fat distribution, and for all that the estrogen is the one which is responsible. What do you know about OPG rank ligand? This rank ligand is an important concept. If you see in the bones, we have the rank receptor and we have the rank ligand. So when this rank receptor and the rank ligand attach with each other, so when they bind with each other, then what it will do? It will activate the osteoclasts. This osteoclasts will cause the osteoporosis. That's what is the role of the osteoclasts. So with estrogen, it will not allow the binding of the rank ligand as well as the rank receptor. How? Because estrogen will be producing this OPG. OPG will be increasing the production of OPG. OPG is nothing but it is known as osteoprotogrin. Osteoprotogrin is something which will bind with the rank receptor, thereby not allowing the rank ligand to bind with the rank receptor. In this way, the rank ligand and the rank receptor are not bound with each other, and therefore the estrogen protects the bones from the activation from osteoporosis, because this rank osteoprotogrin will prevent the binding of the rank ligand and the rank receptor. If they both bind, it will result in the activation of the osteoclasts. Therefore, estrogen is protective against osteoporosis. What is the role of estrogen in the lipid profile? Lipid profile, it has a very favorable profile. In females, where the estrogen is increased, it increases the HDL and it decreases the LDL. Okay, so let's see about the other important concept. When is HRT indicated? What is HRT? HRT is hormone replacement therapy, where we give estrogen as well as the progesterone. It will be mimicking the exact ovulatory cycle, menstrual cycle. Like during the first half they are provided with the estrogen, and the second half they are provided with the progesterone. But even after the menopause has occurred, HRT can be given only in certain indications. So what are those indications where HRT is needed? So if they have hot flushes, if they present with atopic vaginitis, and if they present with urinary incontinence. In all these three conditions, HRT is indicated. But when is HRT not indicated? HRT is not indicated to maintain the bone density. HRT is not indicated to maintain the mood. For all that, HRT is not indicated. Why? Because the hormone replacement therapy, where we are providing estrogen as well as the progesterone, and estrogen has many adverse effects, like it can upregulate the clotting factor 5 as well as the fibrinogen, thereby resulting in a stroke, MI, and all this thromboembolic events. And it can also result in breast cancer. How? So at this point, I would like to tell you an important difference between the breast cancer as well as endometrial cancer. In endometrial cancer is increased if there is increased unopposed estrogen. Like, say example, they are having estrogen, but they don't have progesterone at all. That is unopposed. Estrogen is not opposed by progesterone. In that case, the unopposed estrogen is responsible for endometrial carcinoma. But in breast cancer, even if they have estrogen as well as progesterone, that doesn't matter. Absolute estrogen. So how much ever absolute estrogen, that is responsible for causing the breast cancer. Therefore, in HRT, where they are provided with both estrogen as well as progesterone, here the estrogen is opposed with the progesterone. Therefore, HRT doesn't cause endometrial cancer. But even though estrogen and progesterone is given, the absolute estrogen is increased. Therefore, it is the risk factor for breast cancer. because of all these adverse effects like thromboembolic events and the breast cancer, HRT is not indicated under normal situation, example to maintain the bone density or for mode changes, but it is indicated only in these three conditions. So with this we have seen an overall of the estrogen.